CMMS Radio talks about all things CMMS, computerized maintenance management software, focused on maintenance management. It's the people, the process, and the culture that make your CMMS journey a success. All right, we're back at Friends of Nano, SMRP 2025, Fort Worth, Texas. It's down the street from Big D. That's Dallas, if you didn't know. This guy sitting with me is Colin Morris. He is with MaintainX, and he just did, I didn't get to see it, this is why he's sitting, so he can talk to me about it, an awesome presentation, a session with Michael Truitt. And Michael Truitt is in charge of the distribution centers for Michaels. That's a big deal. So first of all, Colin Morris, welcome to Friends of Nano. You are in the nanosphere. That means nano precise. How you doing, man?
Doing good, Greg. Appreciate you having me on.
Yeah, man. So have you been to SMRP before? Because this is my first one.
This is my first one. Had hoped to go to the one last year, but weather decided that wasn't going to happen, but excited to be here.
Yeah, well, made everybody safer not going last year, and this year I'm hearing it's bigger, maybe because it's in Texas, who knows. I keep saying this on all the episodes. For me, it's fascinating, but what I really love is that you were in front of everyone. I'm assuming that was done in an innovation lab, one of the ones around here, or maybe in a different room, but it's one of your clients, and those are the best stories for people to understand what's really happening. It's not all about the product, it's all about the journey. So can you tell me a little bit about what was covered when you guys were delivering that session, and why it kind of matters for people to hear that perspective?
Yeah. So Mike's actually been with MaintainX for a few years at this point. So we always appreciate him coming on, talking through what he did, and ultimately how he stood up the software and everything else. So what we were talking about was building out your data foundation for digital transformation. So what are those actions that you need to take to ensure that you're going to be successful when you're implementing a CMMS or EM software? Talking through the standardization practice. So going in, collecting information, ensuring that we have consistency across the business so that we can get that centralized reporting. And Mike shared a lot of information in terms of how he's using a CMMS and EAM to make sure that the team at Michaels is going to be successful, and ultimately ensuring that he's reporting out that data that's so important to those VPs and directors within the business.
Yeah, well, he sits in a position with, essentially running these distribution centers, and I believe there are 7 of them. So he really has to be a conduit. So anything that helps him to see, track, and manage what's happening, are the things actually getting done, and then that converts into the metrics that other people want to see. I'm sure he has his own metrics as well, and I'm going to eventually be recording with him as well, him and Nick Haas. So do you feel like having the kind of relationship you have with Michael and with Michaels, it helps inform you and the team at MaintainX as to how you're evolving when it comes to, I think we all know CMMS, maintenance management software, enterprise asset management software, any of these things, they're tools. We can use them in effective ways, but it's the people in the process. But do you feel like that relationship helps inform what you do for them primarily, but also kind of feeds out into your client base where they get a better outcome?
Yeah, we've always taken a very hands-on approach when it comes to collecting feedback from our customers, ensuring that we actually understand what issues they're facing, the challenges that they're trying to solve, and ensure that we take that into our product development as well. So Michaels has been, one of those customers that we've had around for an extended period of time. Mike as well is a strong voice within the industry and is always willing to jump on a call, tell us what's not working, and work with us to figure out a solution. He's been instrumental in helping to build out some of the standardization tools that we have in place, as well as ensure that we have the proper reporting and metrics that he needs to ensure that his business is running successfully. And fundamentally, without listening to these folks, we would never be able to build the product that we do.
Yeah, and a lot of people, there's a lot of debate out there as to who should we, and I'm saying we as solution providers, people that want to solution things on the plant floor, in the facilities, whether it's distribution centers or manufacturing, any of that. We want to try to focus in on what the clients we already have are trying to do, how they're succeeding, how they want to further succeed and improve, because personally, I feel like that's the way forward, as opposed to, oh, we didn't get that deal over here, I wonder why. I suppose it depends how big it is. Now, I want to switch gears a little bit. MaintainX obviously has had a lot of great news this year. I refer to you guys as a juggernaut, incredible valuation, a great round earlier in the year. And I happen to know that we're kind of rushing through this because you're going to go jump on a plane. You got to go do some stuff with a client. And there's this awesome rodeo event that's planned tonight where MaintainX literally rented out a Coliseum. And I'm so pumped for that. And I'm sorry that you don't get to go, but do you have any visibility as to how that came together, why that was done?
I think it comes down to our Texan co-founder, Nick Haas. I think he took an opportunity to really show off what Texas is all about, get a whole bunch of customers and hopefully future customers into the same room, encourage people to have those conversations, challenge what we're doing, and fundamentally find out more about our business while also having a little bit of good fun, to say the least.
Yeah. No, I'm really looking forward to that. Now, when it comes to this conference and moving around, seeing there's a lot of practitioners. There are people that are representative of those boots on the ground that are here to learn. They're going through different workshops on day one. Then they've got the speaking sessions like yours and some of the other ones. Have you gotten into a lot of conversations and been able to hear two things I'm going to ask you about? One, what are the common challenges, whether they're new or old? And then kind of a follow-up, anything that really is new and surprising to you that you've learned or heard from anybody, whether it's a potential client, existing client, or a practitioner?
I definitely continue to hear the challenges that we're facing in terms of the labor shortage. I think people are really struggling to find talent, retain talent, ensure that they have the appropriate people on hand to actually go through and, do what actually matters, which is keeping machines up and running. I think the other big one is a lot of global supply chain issues. People are struggling to find parts and get them in-house as fast as possible, and ensuring that they have the appropriate replaceable spares on hand to actually go through and execute against these jobs. When it comes to what I'm hearing in the market, what I'm hearing from different practitioners within the industry, I think a lot of focus in terms of AI. I think that's the big scary word in the room, and looking to get more and more of understanding of what that actually means. I think there's also been a lot of great collaboration that's been happening over the past few years. We're here with the Friends of Nano Precise, MaintainX being one of those friends, and I think there's a lot more willingness to collaborate, exchange information across systems, and fundamentally try to build a world-class ecosystem, not just a world-class product.
Yeah, and I want to take a moment just to give a shout out to you guys, to MaintainX, for stepping up for this production, because for some orgs out there in the space that we all share, we love, we're trying to build the industry, we want outcomes for clients, all that good stuff, right? There were some that were a little hesitant because you're listed up here on the backdrop with what would be perceived as your competitors, but I think there's this transition happening that I'm hearing about at this conference. I've heard about it this year a few other times, this concept of the connected ecosystem and the idea that sure, we compete, but let's start focusing on going a little bit bigger and getting a bit more focused on the industry. And I think I'm just giving you guys a shout out for taking that fearless approach to saying, hey, we're cool being listed next to anyone. We don't mind being on Friends of Nano. In fact, we want to, because we're intentional about what we're trying to do for this entire industry. I think that's what it's really all about. I mean, what do you think when I kind of frame it that way?
Yeah, I think there's, everybody's got their specialty. Everybody's got their thing that they do really, really well. And being able to bring in world-class solutions across a variety of different use cases is going to be how we make this industry better. And I think anybody that is going out evaluating software should, run the list, ask them what their strategy is, really challenge the way that things have been done, and build out a world-class solution. And it could be one component from here, one component from there, but fundamentally we need to give our users the tools that they need to be successful, and I don't think one company can do that necessarily on their own.
Yeah, it's well said, because a single solution to cover everything is really hard to deliver. And the other thing is, when you put together the various expertise and start communicating those data points and all those things, you also I would hope, have more horsepower when it comes to experts at each of those companies that can help the clients that are their own experts and guide them on this journey towards, I suppose, continual improvement. I want to talk about two things. One, fundamentals are really important to this, the people and the process and then the technology. Two, when we look at this concept of maintenance maturity and where people are in their journey, I think something I've seen with MaintainX is you have different offerings and it's more about figuring out where people are. So how do those things converge for you in what you do day to day, and maybe as it relates to the conference, but more so as you are customer facing and dealing with people and dealing internally with product?
Yeah, I think the big thing, or the big scary thing in the room that people don't like to say, is the majority of people are still really bad at maintenance. A lot of people are still doing breakdown maintenance. They're still doing what they've been doing for the past 30 years. And I think that's a good opportunity to go back, think about how you're doing things, and reevaluate that fundamentally. What does that mean, at least to me, is especially as we move into this AI first approach, we got to start thinking about the data foundation. So what is my asset naming convention? What is my parts naming convention? Thinking about baselining a lot of the equipment that they have within the facility so that they have the right tooling to eventually use these AI tools. Honestly, most people, especially for predictive analytics suites, are probably not ready for that. And so you need to crawl, walk, run when it comes to digital transformation as well as maintenance maturity. We can't take you from breakdown fixes and firefighting constantly to, predictive analytics by any means. And so I think everybody needs to have a honest conversation with themselves, with their business, to understand where they're really at and look into the market to find a solution provider that can help you along that journey and hopefully get you towards that predictive suite at some point. But it's a long road. It doesn't happen overnight, and you really need to make sure that you're doing it right from day one.
Yeah, and that what sounds to me like what we're looking for in that situation is we have to actively participate if we're the client or potential client in understanding where we are, where we're going, and accepting the fact we're going to have to do the work. And I think being, in this, what I like to call nanosphere, and being friends of Nano, I think helps with that, because you bring in that predictive side instead of trying to figure it out for yourselves. And then some clients are going to know about it, know where they're going, they've done it before, and all those kinds of things. So that's really cool. I want to ask then, as you head out of SMRP, what are you going to take away from this conference? And I think I've already heard, because they plan ahead. I think next year it's going to be in Raleigh, North Carolina. So what are you going to take away when you're heading out? What was great for you, and what are you looking forward to when it comes to SMRP next year?
Yeah, I think though we're talking a lot about AI, we still need to think about that digital transformation journey for a lot of folks and help them to ensure that they have the right tools in place. I think really going back to basics at times is going to be hugely important for a lot of folks, while thinking longer term about where they're headed, what they're going to improve on, and the impact that they're going to have. In terms of moving towards next year, really excited to kind of see where things change, honestly. I think one of the exciting things about this market right now is there's a lot of new players within it. There's a lot of change, a lot of new products coming out that are helping to supplement some of the challenges that we're facing. And I'm excited to kind of see who's going to be here next year, honestly. I bet you there's going to be a whole bunch of people we've never heard of before, and it's going to be really exciting to see how this market continues to grow, and the ecosystem as well.
Yeah, well, we're going to be staying in touch for sure on that, and then next year I'll try to placehold that so we can talk about it when we're at conference, man. So, Colin Morris, MaintainX, thank you for making this time before you're getting ready to head out and jump on your flight. It was awesome to finally meet you in person here in Fort Worth at SMRP 33. You're on Friends of Nano. That's MaintainX, folks. Thank you, my friend.
Thanks, Greg.
Did you find this episode helpful? Please send us some feedback, suggest a topic, or ask a question. Reach out to CMMS Radio if you need a co-pilot on your CMMS project. Visit CMMSradio.com and use the What's on Your Mind link. Thank you for tuning in to CMMS Radio, your resource for all things CMMS, from selection to implementation, to help you make better choices, learn from industry experts, and have a successful CMMS journey.